Well, you never have to wait long to have a bad hot take in the video game industry, right? You never have to wait too long to find someone saying something silly and poorly thought out in video game journalism land. I don't know anything really about the author of this Bloomberg piece. Tai Kim. Don't know how to pronounce it. Yesterday, he wrote a piece in Bloomberg about Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, and used Aloy as sort of the symbol of progressive video game design in terms of like how women are portrayed. So in video games. So he brings up examples like Genshin Impact and Bayonetta as regressive video game design, and even Lara Croft from Tomb Raider as sort of a sexualized and degrading portrayal of women, as opposed to Aloy, who is seen as a progressive, empowered, yada, yada, yada. Now, it's a very bad piece. First of all, it is super dated. It feels like a piece written like a decade ago that ignores all the progress that has been made. It also feels like a piece that is at once sort of it's going to piss everybody off, right? Because here's a guy basically saying, here's how women should dress in video games. Here's how they should be portrayed, which can be seen as sort of gatekeeping, right? Well, what if women want to dress a different way then? What if they don't care that they make Mr. Kim uncomfortable because they're not wearing enough clothing? It's a very prudish argument, right? At the same time, it's going to piss people off who say, who cares? What if we want to see sexy women in video games? What if we'd like to see women in swimsuits, So it's just one of those articles that feels like it was written a decade ago. It even uses an example of that game conference when a woman came up and asked for Blizzard's panel to have women characters who aren't dressed so scantily, right? And she was kind of like booed, and they laughed at her, and it was a shitty incident all around. They could have at least taken her question seriously and not sort of pandered to the booers in the audience. But again, that was 2009, I believe, and that's or I don't know, it was around a decade ago. So it's kind of like, okay, this is not happening now. Let's discuss what's happening now. Let's discuss where we're at now in video games. And the fact of the matter is that there are lots and lots and lots of very strong female protagonists in video games. And I think almost everyone is perfectly fine and on board with this. They're also fine and on board with these women in games generally being attractive, wearing somewhat ridiculous outfits, just like most men in video games are attractive and wear ridiculous outfits. Either armor that is completely way too big and makes them look way stronger than they ever could possibly be, or they're just badasses in action games and much they have bodies that we would all have to work really, really hard to attain. I mean, that's the thing about movies and video games. For the most part, we are seeing portrayals of people who are extraordinary in ways that we will probably never be ourselves unless we worked really, really hard. I mean, movie stars these days, you look at movie stars from like the 60s or something, like especially the guys, they don't have like Charles Bronson and whatnot. These guys didn't have like super like muscular physiques. They didn't look like guys who came out of the gym after 6 hours a day. Now, like extras in movies have bodies like that. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, so he brings up these examples. Zero Dawn's main protagonist is a female character who doesn't look like a supermodel, writes Kim. Yeah, but I mean, really, like outside of a couple screenshots that made her face look kind of funny, she does kind of look like a supermodel. I mean, she's very attractive, and if they ever make a Horizon Zero Dawn movie, she'll probably be cast as as a black chick because redheads never make it into the movies these days. And that's sort of a joke, but it's sort of not a joke. Believe me. Like, look up any sort of recent adaptation or new upcoming adaptation of a movie that originally had a redhead as the actor, and they've been recast as a non-redhead. It's messed up. I think Eric Cartman is behind it. characters like Aloy remain too rare among mainstream games. As a video game enthusiast, I find it uncomfortable playing leading titles like Tomb Raider, Genshin Impact, or Bayonetta, all of which feature female characters in skimpy outfits. Okay, Bayonetta wears her hair as an outfit, and it's badass. And Bayonetta is an angel-killing witch who's so much more powerful and badass than any of the dudes in those games. It's like a really, really empowering sexuality that she has. It's sort of a BDSM dominatrix thing she has going. And it's totally absurd to include her in a list like this. Genshin Impact has Aloy in it as a guest character. And Tomb Raider is one of the first, Lara Croft is one of the first powerful female protagonists in video games. And yes, originally her tits were way too big, because just realistically, it would be uncomfortable to run around and fight and climb and raid tombs and stuff with. But they've reformed her character in new games, and she's still very attractive. But for the most part, they've done a really good job of making her a really humanized, complicated, interesting, and still attractive. But are we supposed to no longer have attractive women in games? Are we only allowed to have attractive men in games now? I don't know. One obvious path toward reform would be to improve diversity among those who create games for deep-pocketed developers. That's great. More diversity in the development side is great. Couple things, though. Men just gravitate towards video games in general more than women. Playing them, working in software, working in tech, working in in game development. All those things draw more men than women. Statistically, it's not just because women are being pushed out. It's just like there are many male industries and female industries with predominantly male or female workers. These are just, maybe this is all societal norms or something, and that's all got to change over time. The fact of the matter is, more men work in video game development because more men want to work in video game development. And also, women can be freaking terrible to each other. I don't know about you, but I think, just because women are employed in companies doesn't mean that women are going to be treated better in companies. Because honestly, if you have women in your life, there are many wonderful women, don't get me wrong, but the most drama I see between women is between women and other women. When women dress really sexy, it's usually to impress or show off to other women. Guys are easy, man. We don't care that much about your makeup or your clothes. Most of us, we are simple creatures. We are easily pleased. Women dress up for other women. In the workplace, women generally hate each other more than they hate men, or than men hate women. I just saying, this is all observational and anecdotal, I admit, but, girl power and female power and sisterhood and all those things are nice memes, and they're nice when you throw them on Twitter and rah rah rah. But chicks can be mean to each other, and I'm not just talking about in junior high and high school, but mean to each other in the workplace. I've talked to plenty of women who have said the same thing. So simply adding a bunch more women to game teams is not going to make necessarily going to make a better work environment or better games for women, because people are people. People can be awful to each other, even if you're the same gender, the same race, the same, religion, whatever. People can be shitty to each other. I think it's a great goal. We should have more diversity of opinion, more diversity of thought, more diversity of cultural backgrounds, gender, race, all that stuff. That's all good. As long as it's done to increase sort of the range of creativity and whatnot, on a project, right? And I'll have more to say about this in a different video, but it's just sort of funny to me. It's sort of like he writes, it's hard to imagine that some of the worst game design decisions wouldn't have been avoided if there were more female voices participating in the process. Reeling from its own scandal, Activision says it will do better and hire significantly more women within 5 years. What really though? Women can still be shitty to each other. They can still turn a blind eye to harassment. They can be harassers themselves. Maybe this is true, maybe not. Would it make do you think more women working at Activision would make, Call of Duty more feminine or something? No. A woman is in charge of the James Bond franchise and doesn't want a female Bond. right? I mean, there's no like magic bullet in hiring women to make things better for women. I mean, it's certainly overall in the larger scheme of things, sure. But this is sort of a pipe dream. It's also sort of a pipe dream that, you know, I wrote about this, and I think I made a video about it, but I wrote about this take a while back where someone was like, Ubisoft has been bad to women, so you should play Far Cry 6 as the female version of Dani Rojas instead of the male version. It's like, really? You think this is revolutionary? You think you're going to change shit by playing the female version? You think Aloy is like the answer to all the problems in the video game industry? If we just have more like characters who fit your version of what a female character should look like in a game, who wears a little bit more clothes, that's going to solve all the problems in the industry, all the harassment and discrimination. You know, you think these game developers can just like create some cool female protagonists who don't wear midriffs, and that's going to solve all the problems in the industry? That's stupid. That's a cop out. I mean, this whole piece sort of feels like a Sony advertisement, really. like, oh, only this one game has this awesome female protagonist and everything else is backwards. I mean, Sony itself is facing sexual discrimination charges and whatnot right now. So and they don't mention that in this piece, only Activision and whatnot. So anyways, I just think it's kind of silly. There are lots of great female protagonists, and I welcome more of them. They can be wearing whatever the artists in question want them to wear, whether that's, you know, armored bikini, or, you know, a tuxedo. I don't care. Like, as long as your protagonist is cool, as long as it fits the setting, as long as it makes sense in the world. I mean, be as zany, as wacky, as sexy, as straight, as whatever as you want with your characters, your women and your men, both, whatever. You don't have to fit some scoldy, prudish vision. You don't have to pander to the horniest of teenage fanboys. You just can make the characters you want to make in your games. Just make them interesting. Write them well. You know, good writing goes a long ways. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Hire more women if more women want the job. Hire men if they're the right for the job. Hire whoever's right for the job. And embrace the idea that, yes, diversity can make for better games. But don't just hire people because of their skin color or their gender. Hire people because they're good and passionate at what they do. The video game industry has a lot of money and has historically had kind of shitty writing. Let's get to a place where we're hiring the best people for the job, the best writers, the most creative visions. Let's make games for all sorts of people and from all sorts of cultural backgrounds. Like, you know, every time I see someone complaining that there's not enough, you know, people of color in a game set in like Europe or something, I say, well, let's make fantasy games about Africa. Let's make more, games about Japan and Mongolia and, Madagascar. I don't know, the Middle East. Anyways, thanks for watching. Peace.